What's up, Buttercup? Welcome back to my channel. Today's book review is the amazing Emily Wilde's Compendium of Lost Tales. This is the third book in the Emily Wilde series. You do have to read the first and second book to make sense of the third novel. So if you have not read those books, probably this book review isn't going to be for you, but if you don't mind spoilers, well, medium style spoilers, and or not knowing the connection of the first and second book with the third book, or if you've already read the books, then please stay. You know what? Either way, welcome. Love to have you here. I'm very excited. I didn't plan anything. I am just going to wing it. Usually I have notes. I don't need notes because my excitement is all over the place. I gave this book 5 stars. Of course I did. The other 2 books are 5 stars. This is a 5-star read. The whole trilogy is superb. We follow, of course, Emily Wilde, a dryadologist, and her fiancé, Wendell, who turns out to be a fairy prince. And after all the things that happened in Austria in the second book, Emily has found the otherworldly portal to Wendell's long-lost realm. And they decide to take back his throne from his evil stepmother. And along the way, there are many fantastic characters from the first and second book that pop up in this novel. We love to see it. I really enjoy Poe, the creepy but still adorable house fairy. He's not in it for the majority of the time, but I think he plays a pretty significant part, even though he's only there for like maybe 15 pages. And I also, I don't know why, I really do love Snowbell, the fox fairy, like a shapeshifter. It's an interesting fae type. I know I'm forgetting the exact name for it, but actually, I do know why I enjoy Snowbell. It's because it's a fox and I love foxes. But I just enjoy how cute Snowbell can be one moment, and then the next moment he wants to tear your throat out. I mean, like, oh, thank you. I see. I'm weird. It's totally fine. I really do enjoy the take that Heather Fawcett has created on the idea that overall fairies and just fae are violent and very tricky, and kind of like the negative connotations of fae. I grew up neo-pagan, and of course there were always, there are fae that you don't trust, and there are definitely evil ones, but for the majority of fae, because yes, in this household we believed in fae and other magical beings, they are neutral or good, but it depends on how you interact with them. So I always like seeing the darker side, so to speak, of fae lore and myths, and this is what you get in this novel and the other novels, but especially this one, because we are in the fairy realm that is owned and taken over by Wendell's family. It's been in his family for many generations. Very violent. His father was terrible, and then he dies and his stepmother takes over, and he is exiled into the human world, and that's how Emily comes upon Wendell. He becomes a scholar, a dryadologist in England, and like in the first book, you can tell something's off, and then some things happen, and then it's like, oh, he's a fae. And then in the second book, it's like, oh, he's a prince. Oh my gosh, okay. But Emily loves him, and so also, she's a scholar and she just wants to know all the things about Fae. And so there's a little bit of selfishness in the idea of, oh, we're going to help you, Wendell, get back your realm. But also because his stepmother is evil. Like, you know, the whole idea of many folklore tales and myths and legends is overcoming evil. But then what is really interesting, especially in this novel, it's a big part of the novel, we are trying to prevent Wendell, who is very nice, pretty innocent. We don't want you to turn evil. And so there are a lot of references to known legends and myths and folklore. And I think it's really interesting that in this book, the lore of just like the world, but especially this is in Ireland and his realm connects to Ireland, so we're focused on Irish tales or like Celtic tales, and that means that really the other world and the realm of Wendell and his family is really tied into these tales, and they become real and they repeat over and over again. And I think that was just a really fascinating idea, because Emily has to save Wendell many times. And a lot of it is from his natural Fae self, because he doesn't realize, and like all the other Fae beings don't realize, that these realms are connected and they create the stories, and then those Fae within the realms act it out, and then that's how they can turn good or evil. Emily's like, okay, I know what's going on. I need to figure this out once and for all. And I think that's really brave of her, maybe a little dangerous. There is a lot of danger involved. But I do like that Shadow, the old grim dog that is Emily's sidekick, really helps along the way and is a huge part. He's a huge part, maybe not a huge part. He's a big part in the first and second book, but in this book, he is the center stage sidekick kind of character, and we love to see it. Oh yeah, I didn't mention the cover. I love the cover. You can see the creepy eyes in the vines. Yeah, that's a hint. I think that the covers, all of them are stunning, and they do connect in some form or another to the book, of course. Sometimes covers don't make any sense, but these covers do. This cover does. I would have probably preferred the title to be in white instead of light pink, but you know, I'm being picky here because some might say that I think this series is perfection, and I do, and that I'm biased, perhaps. So I'm just pointing out one or two things that could be improved. Really, I don't think anything needs to be improved in this series, especially this book. Another thing is this series, and of course this book, it's in diary form through the eyes of Emily. And I know some people think that might be cliche. It is not. So when you get to the first book and onwards, keep going with it. I never think, oh, this is in diary form. It's really flowing, beautiful writing. The story makes sense, really grabs your attention. I only notice that it's in diary form whenever there's a new chapter, and the new chapter is a new entry, basically. I also really enjoy the footnotes. They're not real footnotes, but they are for the book, and it just makes sense for Emily because she's very scholarly and rational and logical, and if there's any mention of anything scholarly that needs a reference or a citation, there will be a footnote. And honestly, Heather does a fantastic job of finding actual legends, myths, folklore from real life, like in our reality, and mixes it in with her story and her world and her overall magical whimsy, scholarly vibe of this novel and the series as a whole. So don't feel weird when you see footnotes. Many of them are real life myths, legends, lore. It's just that, like, in this world, magic is real, fairies are real. I mean, it's what really Wiccans and neo-pagans believe now, but, you know, we can't see the fairies and the elves and all that stuff. But if you're looking at it in a spiritual, religious way, in that tone, that makes sense. Like, this isn't weird to me. I can wrap my head around it because that's what I believed when I was younger up until like 2016. Completely makes sense. I know some people are confused about how this works in this world versus our world. You could say that it's, soft fantasy, in a way that you're just pulling from real life and then plopping it down in a story, versus epic fantasy would be a completely different world. And yes, it's usually based on European medieval time periods for epic fantasy, but it's new. Versus we're in London, we're in Dublin, we are in Switzerland. Like, it's real life, but it's covered by the lore of any society and culture that has fae. A lot of mainly Celtic stuff in here, but there's also Germanic and Scandinavian fae as well, so that's always fun to see. So this is supposed to be the last book of the trilogy. Last I heard from Heather Fawcett in an interview, but you know, it does wrap things up, and I think it's a cute wrap up, but it also leaves a few things open, so I'm intrigued. Yes, I am. I did spoil myself. That's my bad. The ending, because I was flipping through it before I read the book. I was flipping through it. I read the last page. It was really cute. Didn't know what was really going on, but I was like, oh, Wendell and Emily in their office. It's cute. Okay, cool. And so we get to a specific part, and I'm not going to spoil it because this is only medium spoilers, but we get to a specific part and I'm like, oh, damn. But I wasn't dying inside. I wasn't crying or anything because I read on accident the last page. So just know that everything's going to be okay when you get to a certain point. Emily has it figured out. That could be extra spoilery. Is that the right word, spoilery? I don't know. It could upset you if you get to a certain point, but just letting you know it's okay at the end. I know for a fact it's okay, but just go for the ride. If I didn't spoil myself by reading the last page, I would be bawling for like a good portion of the second half of this book. But I didn't. So, you know, maybe that is good, because I would be just in tears and then my husband would be like, are you okay? And through the tears, I'm like, it's the book. And he'd be like, oh my gosh. It didn't ruin the story. I think it was just a surprise where the story went. I would kind of sort of say this last book is unpredictable. It's not particularly written to market. However, Heather Fawcett can do whatever she pleases at this point, especially with the last book in this series. And I appreciate that. She had a vision and she ran with it. I definitely recommend Emily Wilde's Compendium of Lost Tales, as well as the first 2 books in the series. Thank you so much for watching my book review, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.